Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. You know, it's really something fascinating to see. It's almost as if President Trump is out here collecting tribute around the globe. In a way, I mean, that's what you could call it, right? A tribute collection. Some kind of Julius Caesar-style economic policy where you have to pay the fee to be under that umbrella of the Roman Empire. You know, the Democrats made it seem like Donald Trump's tariff strategy would spark World War III. They mocked the idea that President Trump could negotiate anything, and well, look how it's going now. What they told you was impossible and just ego-driven seems to be exactly what's happening. The president has put a timeline and he's just sitting there collecting the king's tribute. I'm sure some leftist somewhere is seething with rage if they heard something like that, but you know what? Despite all the hashtag no kings rhetoric, I think it's pretty frickin' based, pretty badass, and even justified and long overdue. America's finally collecting on its debts in a way, and now we've got another major advancement in capitulation from Europe, another massive LNG deal to add on top of the German one that was just signed. Let's break it all down, folks. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Okay, friends, so I guess how else can I say it other than it seems as though the dominoes are falling in place. According to Politico Europe, US and EU firms strike major gas deal as trade talks hit crunch time. One of Europe's largest energy companies has signed a multi-decade agreement to buy American natural gas as US President Donald Trump calls on the continent to boost imports in order to avoid hard-hitting tariffs. In a statement shared with Politico, Italian firm Eni and Virginia-headquartered exporter Venture Global confirmed that they had penned a 20-year deal to ship 2 million metric tons of liquefied natural gas per year. And so we're talking about another multi-billion-dollar contract likely, on top of the multi-billion-dollar German deal that just happened. And you know, this is now kind of getting the ball rolling, where the rest of Europe is likely to fall in line, totally caving and capitulating to the Trump demand to buy American LNG. We covered this maybe two and a half months ago, where President Trump loosened the regulations, and that started a massive growth in LNG production. We're now sitting on an oversupply of LNG and in a position to start being the world's biggest global exporter by miles. Ooh, tariffs are going to destroy the American economy. Meanwhile, the reality is tariffs have put the American economy in arguably the best and most positively strategic position it's been in decades. And guess why that is? Well, America's had the biggest stick, but previous presidents have refused to use it. But this president has a different approach. He's not begging. He's playing freaking hardball, and it's working. And the left told you it wouldn't work. The world would laugh at Donald Trump. The world would coalesce into an economic Power Ranger mecha suit to take down the evil orange man like something out of a freaking comic book. But instead, well, I don't think the world's laughing as much as they're begging to be invited to the Trump party. And speaking of this non-stop flow of King's tribute, we've got the Crown Prince of Bahrain who just visited the White House and announced a nuclear energy cooperation deal with an added $17 billion in fresh investment headed right into American industries.
We're very happy to be announcing $17 billion worth of deals that are coming to the United States. And this is real. This isn't...
it's real money.
These aren't fake deals. These are real deals.
They don't have to borrow the money.
We don't have to borrow it. It's coming in. And it only builds upon a legacy that we're very proud of. We have had a relationship in the civil side between our two countries since 1893 and formally since 1948. So may it long continue, and we look forward to many more years of productive partnership. Thank you, Mr. President.
We will have
you honor us.
You know, it's almost hard to wrap my head around it after decades of money outflows. Finally, this is what it looks like when the world pays America, not the other way around. After decades of US taxpayers funding NATO, UN programs, foreign militaries, NGOs, climate initiatives, I mean, the list goes on. Donald Trump comes in and totally flips the script. And while all of this is happening, the Democrats are still in the news media warning about imminent crippling inflation after spending the last 4 years ignoring literal sticky crippling inflation. But listen, I don't think we're there. I've said it a million times. Production is up, the economy's stabilizing, prices are stabilizing, and really the big argument from the left pushing this doomsday recession and inflation scenario was, of course, again, always tariffs, which was supposedly going to devastate retail and destroy the farming industry that relies so heavily on on imported goods. But then look at the latest report.
For the month of June, PPI comes in unchanged. We're expecting up 0.2. Unchanged would be the smallest inflationary wholesale increase since it was minus 0.1 in March of this year. Strip out food and energy, it remains zero. Unchanged, zero. And that would comp towards April when we were minus 0.2, which, by the way, was lowest inflation rate going all the way back to April of 2020. If we strip out food, energy, and trade, unchanged. That also would comp towards April of this year. Now, let's take a bigger view, year over year. Year over year headline, expected 2.5, comes in 0.2 light. 2.3%. That would be the lightest in the Wayback Machine going to September of last year. If we strip out food and energy, up 2.6, a tenth light, and that is 0.4 less than the rear view mirror, which was up 3%. That 2.6, well, we have to go back to July of last year, 1 year, and that was 2.6. Find a lower number, you're in April of 24. And finally, the year over year, ex food, ex energy, ex trade, 2.5%, 0.2 lighter than 2.7, 2.5. Wayback Machine, you're equally where we were in November of 23. To find a lower number, you're in February of 21.
Sure, headline inflation came in at 2.7, which was a little bit hot, but it was also what was expected and kind of within the range that we've been in. But when we look at the producer price index, totally unchanged, a flat 0% producer price index report. That means input costs like materials, logistics, everything you need to make stuff, well, it hasn't really moved. The system is stabilizing. The Democrats created all this hoopla for nothing. And I think people have realized that. That's why markets have rebounded and are now pushing beyond their all-time highs. Investment confidence and consumer confidence is still climbing because I think people have realized that the strategy is actually not unhinged at all. First of all, it's working, and secondly, it seems measured and controlled, like Donald Trump has this giant control panel in all these different countries with these inflation levers, and he's kind of equalizing it as he goes. We need a little bit here, maybe a little back here. Maybe let's pull back on China because they've shown a little bit of good faith, but remain the levels around halfway. Obviously there's a little bit of a method to the madness. It's an execution of leverage. And I think there's a little bit of faith that if clearly it's backfiring, if inflation starts coming in super hot over the next couple of months, well, people are operating under the understanding that the president is going to pivot, is going to change things if the signals are showing something actually negative. But right now we aren't there. We simply aren't there. No, instead, quite to the contrary, it feels almost as if the golf ball is being teed up at the perfect height and in the perfect conditions for an absolutely incredible economic drive. I mean, less taxes, less regulation, more commodity production, more tech investment, infrastructure, and innovation, trillions of dollars pouring in. I mean, come on. This ship's about to frickin' take off. I can just feel it in my bones. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.